Hey everybody, Alex here, and here's another video about some spooky stuff. Do you live in a haunted house? Or do you wish you lived in a haunted house? Well, according to Scientific America, 45% of people believe in ghosts, 18% of those people believe that they've had an encounter with a ghost, and believe it or not, according to Architect Magazine, 33% of, I believe it's the US population, said that they would want to live in a haunted house. But as you know right now, we are currently stuck in a quarantine thanks to COVID-19, coronavirus, whatever you're calling it. It's quite a change, especially if you live in a haunted house and you've been able to go to work and you've been able to go and do stuff. You've been able to get away and have time away from your ghost, so to speak. So with the quarantine and the lockdowns happening, you're basically home 24/7, and a lot of people in this situation are finding out that things are a little weird when you're sharing your space with a ghost. Now granted, if you are somebody who works from home, or you're a housewife, stay-at-home mom, any of those things, and you live in a haunted space, then being home all the time isn't really much different than what you've been living with before. However, it doesn't mean that it's not scary and it's not disruptive to your quality of life. So I'm going to go over some tips to help you deal with your haunted house during the quarantine and what you can do about it. But before we get started, be sure to show some like on that subscribe button, like my page on Facebook, follow me on Instagram. I'm always posting paranormal content, and I would love it if you would follow me or subscribe to me, wherever you're watching this from. So the New York Times posted this article that was called "Quarantining with a Ghost? It's Scary." And the article shared stories from different people who are living in a haunted space and are experiencing like paranormal activity because they are home more. And this is interesting because this was in the back of my mind when the lockdowns were being put in place. I was thinking, okay, well, people who live in a haunted house, they're about to be spending a lot of time with their ghosts now. So I've compiled a list, as you know, of things that you can do to help you deal with living with a ghost during this quarantine, and tips if you need some extra protection or you want to try to get rid of the ghost or help it cross over, whichever. But here's my disclaimer. This is not a guarantee that this is going to work. If you really have no clue about what you're doing, then I would highly recommend that you call in a team, bring in somebody who knows a little bit more than you so that you can do this properly. And also, if you try these tips, it may very well escalate the activity before it gets better. So just so you know, this isn't really like a end-all be-all one-size-fits-all list. Some of the things on this list may contradict each other. You need to choose what works best for you because you know what the haunting is in your home. First thing, learn the language of your house. I actually love this term. Usually I had a much more drawn out way of saying it, but one of my team members, Pat, said this and I was like, that's brilliant. What you should do is really just sit in your home in silence for, a couple minutes, a little more than that. Learn the language of your house. Know what kind of sounds it makes, what makes it shake, what makes it move, what's the environment like. Because then this way, if you do start to hear weird things, if you know the language of your house, then you can say, oh, well, that's the floorboards. They creak whenever I walk into the kitchen. Or, oh, when I go up the stairs, it sounds like someone's walking behind me, but it's just the floorboards resetting. Things like that. Learning the language of your house is probably the most important thing on this list. Number 2, take notes. In the New York Times article, John Tenney recommended that you take notes. I think this is a fantastic idea. This is something that I try to encourage all my clients to do. Whenever things happen in your house, take notes. Take notes of the day, the time, what happened before, so that you know, like, what maybe triggers the activity. Is there a pattern to things? And once you pick up on the patterns, then you can also figure out what's causing that pattern. It could be something that is explainable, or, it could be a ghost. Number 3, set boundaries. All right, so you've taken notes, you've learned the language of your house, and you've determined that there's probably a ghost in your house. The biggest thing I would say to do in this situation is set your boundaries. This is something that we do with our clients all the time. We teach them how to basically take back their home, so to speak. You are not the victim in this situation. You are very much in control. Don't let whatever's there make you think that you're not in control. This is probably one of the most important lessons you can learn. This could be something as simple as, this is my house, you are not welcomed, you need to leave. Or it could be, you can stay here, but stop running up and down the stairs at 3 a.m. Or, you can stay here as long as you only bring positivity and light and love, only good intentions, anything with evil or bad intentions needs to leave. This is my house. Avoid statements like, could you stop doing this? Or, I would like it if you stopped doing that only if you want to. Set your boundaries, set them firm, very firm boundaries. Number 4, open your doors and windows. Okay, this is gonna sound a little bit weird, but we're talking paranormal here, so nothing is really ever too weird. But sometimes the activity that is happening in your home can be an accumulation of a lot of energy, especially if you live with multiple people or multiple pets. All of that energy, your energy, their energy, it all just starts to accumulate and swirl around. So what I would recommend, and I try to do this once a month, open all of your doors and windows, especially if you have a screen door for the door, you know, and I'll light some sage and I'll sage my place, and I'll just push all of that energy out of my apartment so that anything that's been accumulating or building up, it goes out the door, it goes out the window. And you can visualize that energy like a cloud, like a black cloud, purple cloud, green cloud, pink cloud, whichever works for you. Just visualize you pushing all of that energy out of your home. And sometimes that'll be enough to clear your space. And sometimes that's it. Like, the activity stops because it wasn't necessarily a ghost, it was just all of that energy that you created and built up. So whatever religious belief you fall into, it doesn't hurt to pray, meditate, call upon your past relatives, ancestors, you know, just ask them for some protection. So for many people, this may be as simple as asking God to put his hand of protection over your home. It could be asking your grandmother to come and protect you. And also, if you want to add an extra layer to this, I would highly recommend doing some grounding and shielding to help you get centered and also learn how to shield yourself. So this falls into asking for protection. And this is something I highly recommend, especially if you're fearful. Number 6, avoid communication on your own. So in the paranormal world, it's kind of an unspoken guideline that you don't investigate your own home. Even for me, as a seasoned paranormal investigator, I try to avoid going ghost hunting in my own place. If you don't know what you're doing, definitely do not try to establish communication with the ghost in your home on your own. So this means like EVP sessions, using a Ouija board. Personally, I don't really believe in the Ouija board, but I know the power of suggestion is extremely powerful. In this situation, I would recommend that you get in touch with a local paranormal team. Even if they're not able to come to your home immediately, hopefully they can hop on a Zoom call or a Skype call and be able to give you some advice on what's going on. And they would be able to guide you from there. But definitely do not try to do any sort of communication on your own. People in the past have been opening like portals or inviting things in that weren't there before, but because, you know, the person was calling out or trying to summon the ghost in their home, they ended up bringing in something completely different, and usually it's a bit more chaotic, if not a little bit more negative. Usually I find when a ghost is kind of making a ruckus and really trying to get your attention, they are trying to establish some sort of communication with you, like they may have some sort of message for you, or they need something from you. So in this case, it may be worth responding, which just contradicted everything I just said, but sometimes even just an acknowledgement like, I know you're here, I can't talk to you right now, but I appreciate you trying to communicate, but it needs to stop right now. And this goes back to boundaries. Number 7, encourage them to cross over. Again, this is something else you don't want to do without a paranormal team or the guidance of a paranormal team. So have the guidance of a paranormal team or a reputable medium if you want to go this route in helping a ghost cross over. Also, make sure that the ghost wants to cross over, because sometimes if you try to cross them over and they don't want to cross over, things get a little bit chaotic. And also sometimes you run into a ghost that may not realize they're deceased, but never ask, do you know that you're dead? Please don't. So there are also a lot of resources online to help you guide a ghost and helping them cross over, but again, if this is completely unfamiliar territory with you and you're not comfortable with it, don't try it, because it's probably going to make things worse. But it's something worth considering. But again, there's lots of teams out there, there's lots of really good mediums out there that can help you with this. They may even be able to do it remotely. I've seen it happen. It blew my mind too. Number 8, don't antagonize it. You are not on a TV show. You are not trying to elicit a response from the ghost in this way, because if you provoke and you antagonize it, you are definitely probably going to make things worse. And usually this is when people get scratched or physically touched, and not in a good way. It's a bad touch. So definitely don't try to antagonize it, threaten it, make things worse. Plus, if you antagonize a ghost, it may not want to leave anytime soon. Number 9, fill your space with positive energy. Now, I know this can be extremely hard, especially if you're living with a haunting and it's a haunting that is scaring you. So, and one of the things I'm not a fan of is toxic positivity, meaning, oh, just be happy, it'll be okay, just change your mindset. You know, just things that kind of invalidate, you know, how you're feeling. In this case, this is where self-care falls into this category. Definitely take care of yourself. Do what you need to do to make yourself feel happy and more positive, whether that's meditating, exercising, maybe enjoying a treat now and then. Just being more positive. Of course, it doesn't happen magically. You have to work towards it. You know, if you need to watch a Disney movie, if you need to, you know, keep a nightlight on so you can sleep at night, do what makes you happy and what makes you feel comfortable, that is safe and doesn't bring harm to you nor to others. You know, do things that make you laugh, watch things that make you laugh, or make other people in your family laugh, just to bring out a lot of positive energy. Now, this doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. Oh my gosh, that would be exhausting. But doing something just to bring a little more positivity in your life each day can make a huge difference, especially when you're dealing with a haunting in your home. Taking care of yourself is the first step to taking care of your space. Number 10, I have a guess now. Ignore it, which is what I'm going to do right now regarding the cat in my arms. Now, this is advice that I've often seen in the paranormal community when it comes to a haunting. I've given similar advice, but sometimes the best thing to do is ignore it. But this can go 2 different ways. First way is you ignore it. Whoever or whatever is there gets tired and ends up moving on. Number 2, whatever is there starts to do bigger things to try to get your attention. So ignoring it can go one way or it can go both ways. But the same thing can be said with acknowledging it. You acknowledge it, the ghost is happy, it moves on. You acknowledge it and the ghost is like, oh, somebody else can see me and talk to me, I'm going to stick around a little bit more. So whether you acknowledge it or ignore it, it can go different ways. Just be ready to deal with whichever way it goes. So that's where preparation goes into play. Number 11, learn to live with it. Now, a ghost isn't much different than having a roommate. Let's be honest. I don't know if you've lived with roommates in your life, but sometimes it goes really, really well, and sometimes it goes really, really bad. And a ghost just happens to be a roommate that you can't see. So you can learn to live with it, especially if it's not bringing harm to you. Maybe it's just an annoyance, like it opens the door at 2 a.m., or sometimes you see it, sometimes you don't, but other than that, you don't feel threatened and things are okay. Like, for example, I have a ghost in my kitchen. His name is Frank. The most annoying thing he does sometimes is he opens the pantry door, and sometimes he will make food float, or he'll push stuff off the breakfast bar. That's annoying, and usually I just say something like, cut it out, Frank, it's fine. Then it stops. Sometimes he comes back, but it's never been anything scary. I can live with that. And most of the time I barely notice him, and I usually forget he's there until he makes himself known. So before I close out this video, here are some final thoughts. If you are sharing a space with a ghost, it's inevitable that you're probably going to run into them on occasion. As I mentioned, they're like roommates. Some of them may be really obnoxious and loud and kind of crazy. Others may be super demure, quiet, calm. You barely notice that they're there. But we know the idea of having a ghost is terrifying. It's scary because you can't see them. But they're people, just like me, just like you. The only difference is they live in a different state of existence, not state like Alaska. So think of how you treat people and how you expect that same courtesy from the people you meet. And if you apply that to the haunting in your home, then hopefully that will help things a bit. Finally, if you are a ghost hunter that is working with people who are haunted and they're in quarantine and they don't know what to do, please don't say enjoy the company, because you don't know what the haunting may be like. It may be really terrifying and really negative for them. And even outside of the lockdown and quarantine, just saying, oh, enjoy the ghost, don't say that, please. Please, please, please don't say that. In the event, you also give validation to the person who wants that ghost there, and once people kind of get that taste of the paranormal stuff, some people will take it and run and end up doing a lot of damage to their own spirituality and the people around them. So it's kind of tricky to say that stuff, so please don't. Encourage them, give them support, and hopefully we'll all get through this together and get out of it as better people. Thank you all for watching. Don't forget to subscribe, like my channel, like my Facebook page, follow me on Instagram, and I'll see you guys in the next round.